scientists! It's so great to see you again for another episode of SCFG Live! Science Club for Girls Live. I'm Hannah with Science Club, and this is Mr. Music with your theme song. Very nice. As always, it's so great to have everyone here. Congratulations on those who had their last day of school today. It's exciting that the summer is starting. Last week, we talked about my favorite topic, which was food. Food is so yummy, and we saw how you could mix different foods together to create brand new foods. We also saw that the way that foods mix together depends on their densities. Foods with really different densities, like the oil and vinegar in Dr. Marvel's dressing, had a really hard time mixing together, but foods with similar densities, like my lemonade ingredients, mixed really well. Now, I've also been thinking about food a lot lately because in the summer, I love to run. And I know that in order to run, I need to fuel my body with food, just like a car needs to fuel with gas. And I've noticed that depending on the food that I eat, it really affects my running. If I eat a lot of sugar right before running, I do great in the first 5 minutes, and then I crash. I also know that it's really important to eat foods like spinach and yogurt and fish because those foods have calcium, and calcium is really good for our bones. We're going to talk more about calcium later because today we're focusing on our bones and muscles, and calcium is a really important part of that. Now, before we jump into talking about the skeletal and muscular systems, let's set up our science notebook so we're ready to take observations. As always, here's my science notebook. It's getting pretty full, actually. And today, we're talking about bones and muscles. While you're filling out your science notebook, I'm going to give a few shout-outs to those who are on the call. I see Isaac is on the call. I see Bonnie. I see Juliana. I see Sean. So many cool people. I'm so happy to have you guys today. Okay. Now, for our first experiment, we're going to focus on the skeletal system. That is the system that involves all of our bones. Now, before I jump in, I want to bring in Dr. Marbles because he is a doctor and he has a lot to say about the skeletal system. So let's bring him in. Dr. Marbles? Just every time! Dr. Marbles! Dr. Marbles! Oh, he's working really hard.
Oh! Hey, Hannah!
Hey, Dr. Marbles, what are you doing?
Oh! I was just exercising.
Wow. Well, that's perfect because exercising involves your bones and muscles, and that's what we're talking about today.
It does. And I'll tell you, I'm a little bit exhausted.
You look winded.
Oh, well, thank you.
But you're getting a lot of compliments on your headband.
Oh, yeah, I gotta fix it. It's not kind of doing its thing. Anyway, it's great to be here and great to see you scientists.
Awesome. Well, are you excited to join us to talk about the skeletal and muscular system today?
Well, yeah. It's like a lot of what I do. It's a lot of what I trained in. When I trained in medicine, I learned a lot about the skeletal system and the muscles. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, we're first going to talk about the skeletal system. And as you know, the skeletal system involves our bones.
Yep.
Awesome.
Hey, you know, it's interesting. I've been reading recently about this woman who's pretty incredible. Her name is Zaha Hadid. And,
cool.
You know, Hannah, she's one of the most famous architects in the world.
Wow.
She's originally from Iraq, and she has done some of the most amazing buildings. Yeah, like this one. I mean, look at what she's able to do. And what I think is, and what's amazing, and what made me think of today's lesson, is that when you look inside her buildings, you can see that there's all sorts of structure and like scaffolding. And it made me think of bones. Exactly. It made me think of bones.
Exactly. It looks a lot like bones. In fact, just like this scaffolding, if we didn't have bones, our bodies would kind of look like mush.
Yeah, I mean, you see here, this is a house, and it may be like a house you live in, or inside those concrete, or inside all of the things on the outside of the house, there's this stick structure. And that's the wood that provides the structure of the house, much like the bones.
That's right.
And you can see here, there's like the outside of the house is like the skin and the muscles.
That's really cool.
So when I was reading about architecture, it really made me think about the body and about bones and the way the body is developed and the way the body is made.
That's awesome. I agree. Well, just like the structure of a house, bones are really important. In fact, they're important for three main reasons. The first one is very similar to what you were just talking about, Dr. Marbles, in that bones provide our body with structure. In fact, if we didn't have a skeleton, we might look something like that, which is crazy.
Yeah, we would just like walk.
Exactly. Now, why else are bones important, Dr. Marbles?
Bones are super important because they are what the muscles connect to, and they let our body move.
Exactly. Life wouldn't be fun without our bones and muscles, right?
Nope. That's what lets us move and run and dance.
Exactly. Now, our bones also are important for one more reason, in that they kind of act like a shield of armor to protect really important organs in our bodies. Our ribs, for example, help protect our heart, and our skull protects our brain. And those are really important things that allow us to live.
Yep. It's like our shining armor.
Exactly. Well, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about bones, and specifically what are inside of bones. What are bones made of? So we're going to do a quick experiment. Dr. Marbles, I'll bring you back for the prediction, but I'm going to get started, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So now that we know why bones are so important and why our skeletal system is so important, it's time to find out what exactly are bones. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bone. Now this is a chicken bone actually left over from my dinner. And I wonder what would happen if I bent that bone. Let's take a look. I'm going to put on some gloves just to be safe. You can also just wash your hands after with some soap and water, which I'm going to do anyway. All right, so let's take a look at this bone. This is a chicken bone. Interesting. And if I was to bend that bone, well, I actually can't really bend it. It's pretty strong. It's a good thing our bones are strong, because if they weren't, we wouldn't be able to lift heavy things and wouldn't be able to walk or really do anything. Now, there is a way that I could bend this bone, and it's through this experiment. So, what I've done is I've placed another chicken bone in a jar with vinegar. We use vinegar a lot in science, especially in chemical reactions. And I've left this bone in the vinegar for 4 days now. I'm curious what is going to happen when I take the bone out of the jar of vinegar. I want to make a prediction, a hypothesis. And for this, we have to go to our favorite segment.
Prediction chicken! Prediction chicken! Prediction chicken.
My favorite part of the show.
Me too.
All right, Dr. Marbles, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I placed a chicken bone in a jar of vinegar, and I've left it for 4 days. What do you think is going to happen when I try to bend the bone now? Do you think I'll be able to bend it?
You know what, Hannah? It's making me think of another session that we did back on episode 2, when you were looking at chemical reactions.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to predict, that the vinegar is going to have a chemical reaction, much like the egg did. Do you remember when we put the egg with the vinegar?
Yes, I do remember.
And it caused the shell to get nice and soft, and when you bounced the egg, it bounced right back.
Right.
So I think my prediction is that the chicken bone is going to get softer and bouncier. But wait, quick question.
Yeah? Oh, this is awkward.
You okay that this is a chicken bone?
Oh.
No, seriously. You okay? You good? We're good!
Awesome! I'm glad we can move on from that.
Needed to check.
Let's test it out, okay?
Yep.
I'm going to wear gloves for this part, too, because it's a little gross and smelly.
Good
All
idea.
right, so again, same kind of chicken bone, but now it's been placed in vinegar. And take a look at that!
Wow! It's really bendy!
Oh my gosh, before I literally am pushing so hard and I couldn't bend it, but now it's so easy to bend. Huh. Well, what's going on here?
That's the chemical reaction, Hannah.
Yeah, I think it's the same chemical reaction as when we put the egg in the vinegar. It looks like the acid in the vinegar has caused some of the calcium in the bone to dissolve.
Yep. And let me tell you something. Calcium's like one of the coolest things. You want to know why?
Why is it so cool?
Well, the only way to know is you got to go inside the bone.
Let's take a look.
So let's take a look. Well, there you go. That's when you split a bone in half. That's when you split a bone in half. And when you look over there, you can see 4 bones. The one on the left has a lot of little pieces inside, and it's nice and dense. You remember last week we talked about density.
That's right.
And as you go across, they're less dense. And what makes them dense and strong? Calcium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I'll show you another thing.
A little bit more.
Yeah, I'll show you another one. There's an example of what happens when you eat a lot of calcium and you take care of your bones. The one on the left, normal bone. And the one on the right, you see it has bigger holes, Hannah?
Yeah.
And you see even how it looks a little bit older and a little more fragile?
It does.
Well, that's because there's less calcium, not enough vitamin D, and that's called osteoporosis.
That's a big word.
Huge word.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you another one. There's another example. Half a bone, looking at the inside, and you can see dense bone, nice and healthy, and that not dense bone, or osteoporosis. And that can happen.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think this bone might look a little bit like the one on the left, but this bone that's been in vinegar might look a little bit like the one on the right, right?
You got it. Exactly. So if you show me, there's what can happen. So as you get older, sometimes you don't have enough calcium or the bones start getting a little older, and as the bones get a little weaker, you can see how you lean forward.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to keep our bones strong, and we want to eat enough calcium and enough vitamin D. So where do you get that? Delicious food!
Like what, Dr. Marbles?
Oh, eggs, milk, some cheese, even, green vegetables are a great place for calcium and vitamin D.
That's awesome. Take a look at what Abe said. Milk equals healthy bones.
That is perfect. I'll tell you somewhere else you can get some vitamin D.
Where's that?
You're not going to believe this, Hannah.
Tell me.
The sun!
I love the sun. So basically, we should all go outside, sit in the sun, and drink some milk.
With sunscreen.
Of course. That's really important. Well, thanks so much for telling us that, Dr. Marbles. I think it's important to drink our calcium so we can have bones that look like this and not like this, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So now I'm going to take a look at how our bones help us to move. I'll bring you back in a little bit, okay?
See you soon.
Awesome. Now, to do this, we're going to do something pretty cool in that we're going to actually make a model of the human hand to find out how bones work together with muscles to help us move. Okay, so for this, you're going to need a few different materials. The first one is some foam. If you don't have any foam, you can just use paper or cardboard works as well. You'll need some scissors. You'll also need a straw. Paper is better, of course, but if you don't have paper, you can use a plastic straw. A bead, actually a couple beads, and some string. You'll also need some tape as well. Okay, first thing, the fun part. trace your hand on the foam like this. Okay, after you trace your hand, go ahead and cut it out with scissors. Be really careful and ask an adult if you need some help. All right, now that we have our hand, we need to create our straw bones. So go ahead and tape your straw, your little pieces of straw, to your hand. You'll want to do this on each finger. I'm just going to do one so it goes a little bit quicker. Okay, after you've taped your straw to your hand, you'll want to take your string and weave it through the straws. Now, your string might kind of fray apart, so if you need to wet it or put some tape at the end, that works really well. Oh, sorry, I got my bone down here still. All right, so go ahead and weave your string through your straws like so. Weave and pull, weave and pull. All right, now this might take a little while, so I'm gonna zoom ahead. Once you've finished all of your straws and weaved all of your strings, it will look something like this. Now, a good thing to do is to tie some beads at the end of your string and at the beginning to make sure they don't slide through. Now, here's the cool part. When I pull on my strings, watch what happens. It moves just like our fingers move. Pretty cool. I wonder if I could like pick up things and that kind of stuff. And last one. Pretty cool. Now I wonder what this is representing. And for this, we're going to go back to our doctor, Dr. Marbles. Hey, Dr. Marbles.
Okay, Hannah.
Actually, wait. I want to say hi with the hand. Hi, Dr. Marbles.
Hey, Hannah.
Isn't this cool?
Oh, I love that.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you something. That is really close to what it's really like inside the body, inside the arm, and inside the hand.
Well,
hey, Hannah, you want to do a little experiment with me?
I would love to.
Okay. And maybe the scientists, you guys can do this also at home.
Definitely.
Let me show you what you need to do. Hannah.
Yes.
Raise up your hand. Great. Now I want to take you to take your other hand and grab onto the forearm right there. Perfect. Right on your arm. Not too tight.
Oh, okay.
Nice
I know, it was getting a little bit too tight for a second.
Yeah, not too tight. And now what you want to do is I want you to wave hello with your fingers. And when you do that, feel what are you feeling in your arm?
I'm feeling some movement right here.
Yup. You
What
feel
is
that?
that?
That's the muscle.
Whoa.
Isn't that cool? So that's the muscle working to pull on the tendons that are pulling on your finger. Cool. You want to feel your You want to feel your tendons?
I would love to. Wait, what are tendons?
Tendons are like the little ropes that were on your experiment.
Oh, like these.
Exactly.
And do these connect the muscle to like our bones?
Yup.
Cool.
And then those little tubes are called ligaments.
Cool.
So
okay, so where are my tendons on my actual arm?
Go ahead and put your hand back where it was. And now bring your hand a little bit towards your right, towards your wrist. And do you feel inside there, do you feel some they feel like ropes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And wiggle your fingers a little bit.
Ooh, they're moving.
Yeah. Now what I want you to do is rest your hand. Okay. Rest your hand. Scientists, rest your hand. And now I want you to push, squeeze those little tendons. What's happening to your fingers, Hannah?
They're moving.
Yeah, they're moving because you're moving the tendons and you're shortening them a little bit.
So it's just like when I pull the strings.
Exactly.
Weird.
Isn't that cool? So muscles connect to tendons, they duck under the ligaments, and they pull on your fingers.
Wow.
And that's how we move.
That's like a real team effort, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's like a machine.
That's so cool. In fact, a lot of engineers kind of use the science of hands and ligaments and tendons to make really cool designs like this.
Oh my God, that's a robot.
Exactly, but instead of actual tendons, they've kind of used wires to do the same thing and pull on those fingers.
That looks like a human hand. Incredible.
Really cool. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Marbles. This was really helpful.
Oh, you're welcome. I love medicine, anatomy, and the body.
It's so cool. There's so much going on that we can't really see.
Nope.
Amazing. And I'm glad that you got your headband back on.
Sort of.
All right, Dr. Marbles. Well, I'm going to do a quick interview, but I'll bring you back, okay?
Please do. See you soon.
All right. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about how scientists use knowledge of the skeletal and muscular systems in their own work. And I actually have a friend who is a physical therapist. She uses science of skeletal and muscular systems every day in her work as a physical therapist. Earlier this week, I was able to sit down and talk to her about her work. Let's take a look and meet Shoko.
Yeah, so my name is Shoko. I'm originally from New Jersey. I came to Boston to go to school and then to work, and right now I work as a physical therapist at a Boston hospital.
Cool, that's awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about what a physical therapist does?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to describe what a physical therapist is a movement doctor. So we kind of look at different body systems like the muscular system or the skeletal system and kind of piece things together and try to figure out why this person might be having pain or why they're injured, or if someone has like a physical disability, kind of trying to figure out what we can do to help them move more on their own and without other people's help.
That's awesome. So you kind of mentioned this a little bit when you were just describing what you do as a physical therapist, but in today's episode, we talked about using or what is the skeletal and muscular system. And I'm just curious how you use knowledge of those two systems in your work as a physical therapist.
Yeah, so I think, so being a physical therapist, you have to have a pretty strong knowledge of the muscular system and the skeletal system. I think it's most obvious in the outpatient setting. So what the outpatient setting is when people come from home to the clinic, like going to the doctor's appointment. And what we do is take a history, so we kind of ask questions. What were they doing if they're coming here for an injury, when they got hurt, what makes the pain better, what makes it worse. And then we kind of look at how they move while doing that activity. Sometimes it's their back hurts when they're picking something off the ground, and kind of pick out if there's anything different about how they're moving as opposed to how you and I would move. And then after that, we test the muscles, see how strong they are, see how the joints are moving, and kind of seeing the alignment of everything, and then teaching them how to get stronger, working on exercises with them, working on how to move properly so that all the muscles and joints and bones all work together so that they don't get injured again, they get better, and hopefully don't have to come back to the clinic after a while.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And how did you come to be a physical therapist? Did you have to go to a special school? Did you have to do special training? What was your path to becoming a physical therapist?
Yeah, so physical therapy now, it used to just be undergraduate college, so just 4 years in college, but now it's a clinical doctorate. So it requires 4 years of undergrad and then 3 years of grad school. I went to Boston University that has an accelerated program, so it's 3 years of undergrad and 3 years of grad school. And within those 3 years, I did 4 3-month rotations going to different hospitals and different clinics around the country and getting trained on how to be a physical therapist.
A ton of schooling. Wow.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. So I'm just curious, there are a lot of young listeners and viewers that are watching. Do you have any advice for them about just really anything?
So I think my main advice is to try a lot of different things, expose yourself to a lot of different topics and like professions. Growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And when I went into college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I I visited different clinics and hospitals and kind of figured out maybe physical therapy is something I wanted to do. And, you know, a lot of people change their mind, and that's okay. You'll find out things you thought you wanted to do, but then ended up not wanting to do, that you ended up not wanting to do it. So I think it's really important to just try different things and figure out what fits you the best.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. It was great to hear all about your advice and, what a physical therapist does. That it was such a great experience talking to Shoko and learning more about physical therapy. I didn't know about what physical therapists did before this, so it was really interesting to learn more. And it seems like it involves a lot of what we just talked about, so that's really cool. Well, I hope you're able to experience more and experiment more with the skeletal and muscular systems. It's been great seeing everyone. Let's bring Dr. Marbles back one more time because he might have something going on, maybe? Dr. Are you eating spinach?
I was just trying to get my spinach because I need my calcium.
That's right. I'm glad that you're doing this right away.
Yeah. So that's a great source, spinach, and I'm about to drink some milk, and yeah, we're all just eating spinach and getting our calcium.
That's fantastic. That means strong bones, so I love it.
Strong bones.
Cool. Hey. Well, actually, next week, we're going to talk about how to have a strong heart. So I hope you can join us for that too, because I think that might involve a little bit of anatomy and biology and all the things that you love.
Oh my God, I would love it. I will be there. Plan on it.
Fantastic. Well, keep eating spinach, keep eating your calcium, and go outside in the sunshine too.
That's a great idea.
Awesome.
Bye, scientists. It was great seeing you.
Bye, Dr. Marbles.
Bye.
All right, thanks everyone again. It's been another fantastic episode of SCFG Live. Fantastic. It was so great seeing you guys. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you next week.